You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. But can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side.
Hello, hello, hello. Can everyone hear me all right? Because we've had a few technical issues this morning, which I do apologise for. So give us your thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Here we go. Loud and clear. Over and out. All right then. Should we get into it? So, how is everyone first and foremost? Hope you're all right out there, wherever you are, whatever you're doing on your Sunday morning. Thank you very much for coming to join us. It's a real pleasure, a real treat for us to get everyone together out there who's feeling maybe a little bit disconnected, a little bit isolated, bring them into this space and make everyone feel good again and feel empowered and feel the collective energy. So, on last week's MYGA, our subject was, we talked about religion, okay? So, if you missed it, it was a very interesting perspective, maybe a new, fresh perspective on religion. And if you missed it, there's a recording available on our YouTube channel. So you can go and check that out. It should be in your inbox by email. If not, you would probably be able to find it in our MYGA chat. And if you're not on our MYGA chat, we have a MYGA chat Telegram group, which is a place where we continue the MYGA conversation from Sunday. And it takes us all the way through the fucking week, where we're geeing each other up, sharing positive stuff, just having a conversation, you know, just supporting one another, because that's what it's all about right now in this very, very interesting time that we live in. So by absolute spontaneous fluidity, our humble little MYGA space has taken on weekly topics. Ooh, topics, you say. So first of all, do you know what? I want to unpack that process a little bit, right? Because that's important to me. When I first began birthing this project, yes, birthing, I wanted to do things differently. And the reason being for that is that my entire working life, it was all planned to a T, right? Everything I'd done was planned to an absolute fucking minute in the film industry, yeah? Like everything is there's such a regimented, almost like a military schedule throughout the day. And it never really, funnily enough, because it was a creative field, it never really allowed much creative enterprise, which is very paradoxical, right? It doesn't make sense. I think because like most compromised and corrupt creative industries in this day and age, we answered to the money men, you know? And there's absolutely no fucking money men here, all right? I'm in a shed doing this broadcast, all right? So that's wonderful for us, you know. It means that the shackles have been taken off and we only answer to the calling of our hearts. Right here, we serve love, you know. We work for the people. We work for our earth. And so within this process is this wonderfully exciting opportunity to create, right? To find out as we're going along. Because I haven't got a Danny LaRue what we're doing a lot of the time, but yet I know exactly where we're going. And so MYGA just sprang out of the ether, mainly as a sort of direct challenge to the MAGA movement. A place to offer something different where an open forum of truly uncensored discussion can take place. Unbridled conversation with absolutely no allegiances to anything outside ourselves, to no external control. Yeah, all right, listen, I understand we're using Zoom for now, but that's only a temporary measure to get us going. You know, this is a real speaker's corner where those with hearts bursting with freedom turn up in all of their rich, unique expression and just lay it all out, bosh, on the table. So now we're here. And by completely natural happenings, we have arrived at subject matter. How fucking marvellous. We have topics. Woo, fucking who? Topics, you say? It's like a TED talk with Tourette's, isn't it? You know? Because, see, we answer to no one, all right? We're free to say what the fuck we like. And I know that is a very different way to be in this world. Sorry, I've just got to put my phone. Someone's just trying to ring me, which is a pain in the ass. Don't they know what I'm doing? Go away. Do not disturb. Go on. Fuck off. Get back to your Sunday. Leave me alone. Like I said, we answer to no one. Not even this fucking person I'm answering to. We're free to say what the fuck we like. You know, what the absolute fuck we like, we're free to say. And that, my beauties, is what they call real freedom. There'll be a storm brewing, one like you've never ever seen in your life before. And it be called MYGA. That's what it is for us, you know. It's the spontaneous expression of doing things completely and utterly different. You know, there is no plan here. Yeah, we talk. Yeah, we have discussions. Yeah, we figure things out as we're going along. But there's no, this is how we're going to do things. This is the right way to do things. There is no fucking right way. We're exploding every day in this project, in this space, into this spontaneous fucking guidance, you know, wherever that takes us. And sometimes, just sometimes, our way of doing things is frustrating. Sometimes it's a slow process. And we have to have the patience of a fucking saint. And I'll tell you, and I've said it before, I'm one impatient fucker. You know, I really am. So it's difficult for me, but I know there's something in that. And sometimes it's scary, you know, it's scary that we're doing things in such a way that not a lot of people can support that, especially people who've got supposedly a lot to lose, you know, people who have got incredible resources, people who've got the GDP of some fucking small countries, let me tell you, yeah, household fucking names, right, who follow me, who lean on my wisdom, who ask for my advice, who've been supported by my brave heart and my fearless fucking voice. They're terrified that we won't follow the script. Absolutely terrified. They're frightened to death of our explicit freedom of expression. And I love that. I really do. And I know that sometimes that is it shackles us a little bit, to be fair, in terms of how we're moving forward. It makes us things a little bit more slower, but I love that authenticity, you know? See, over here, like, no matter what's going on, we walk the fucking talk, you know? My values and my opinions about this world are the same in private as they are in public. Yeah. I don't go, oh my God, you know what? All those fucking nonsense are running the world. And someone asks me, I say, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. You know, I'm happily to say to everyone and sundry, what the fuck is going on in our skies? You know, but people don't want to say that because they're going to be the fool on the hill. They're going to be outcast from their friend groups. They're going to lose that contract. They're going to not be able to work with that brand anymore. And that partnership's going to fall through because they have actually taken on their truth and said, you know what? This is what's fucking happening. And I'm going to say it, even if it's unpopular. So I don't self-censor, all right? And nor should you. And we need to be more of who we are in this life now more than ever. We have to. We have to be ourselves. You have to be yourself. Because every other cunt is taken. So you've got to be yourself anyway. All right? To do things your way, whatever that means, you know, even if that risks offending people, because you are going to offend people, like I spoke about last week. That's just the way it is. That is the nature of truly living. That is really, really fucking being. That is who we are. And yes, my darlings, this is MYGA. So, let's get into our Tourette's TED Talk, shall we? This week, one of the subjects I felt really, really come to the surface in me, and I don't know if you feel the same, but was self-harm. Okay? Yes, a very cheery fucking subject for a Sunday morning. But what does it mean? What does self-harm mean? When I first think of self-harm, the first thing that I feel or think or visualize is the first thought is of people cutting themselves, you know? That's the first thing that comes to me. As soon as I hear the word self-harm, that's what I hear is sort of people trying to maim themselves, yeah? And in fact, funnily enough, it was a trend in my school when I was about 13, coming up to 14, I think. And we would sit in a classroom cutting our arms with mathematics tools. Fucking useful, all these like tools that they give you for fucking, let's learn how to use these tools for geometry, and here's a compass and here's a metal ruler, but instead that we would just be sticking them in our arms. In fact, I scratched the initials of my little girlfriend at the time in my arm until it bled, and I can very, very faintly still see the outline of that. But it's more just about than just cutting your arm, isn't it? You know, that's just a very physical representation, a very dramatic and theatrical representation of self-harm. In fact, it's a deeper pattern. All right? It's a big, big program that celebrates our unworthiness. And it goes fucking everywhere. Everywhere it goes. Into every fucking inch of our lives. It's in the way we think, first and foremost. And let's think about thinking for a minute. If that's not too paradoxical for you. The way that we go into any given situation, a lot of the time we do so from our mind, you know. That fucking thinking gets us into a lot of fucking trouble. If we are operating from what we can say is the shadow self, the unworthy self, the place where self-harm and harm and violence and aggression to ourself is of paramount, it's noisy, it's loud, it's controlling and navigating our vessel as we go through this physical realm, then how does that make us interact and interface with the external world around us? You know, that thinking from that space takes us into each moment until that we take the harm into our food choices. Now, we all know if we sit there and we look at a big fucking packet of cookies, all right, and we look at a salad, we all know inherently in us, well, if you don't know, then I don't know. We know deep down in our hearts somewhere that certain foods, salad or cookies aside, certain foods are going to nourish us. Yeah. And it's a nice word that is to use, nourish. They're going to support us, those foods. They're going to give us what we need, the nourishment, the sustenance that we need for our vessel. The other stuff, well, what about the way we eat? Once we're eating, what about the way we eat? You know? Are we doing that from a place of harmful mechanic? From this automated, robotic way of just shoveling food in our mouths? Do you know it takes 20 minutes for your stomach to register what you've just eaten? And I think most of the times when I'm eating from that space of harm, I can finish a whole plate of food in less than 3 minutes. There's something in that, isn't there? The way that we're eating, the way that we're drinking, you know. We're meant to. I've been my research has shown me that we're meant to sip water, sip fluids. Again, I can drink a pint of water or a pint of lager in seconds. You know. And is that really listening to my body, what my body wants, or is that acting out of a place of this harmful aggression, this aggressive nature of the shadow self that is running a lot of our lives from this computer, from this mainframe? And it doesn't just stop there, does it? It's the way we consume everything, you know? Like, how are we going into each moment and what are we doing to do that, you know? The way we do everything is so tied to that frequency of self-harm, you know? It is like the cancer that manipulates each and every move of our experience. And from my experience, you know, I was a young kid who was hiding from some pretty heavy stuff, all right? And I started out early doing things that were abundant in the frequency of harming myself. You know, fighting always, like non-stop, every day. And I mean, like, from a young age of being like 5 or 6, I was the kid in the playground who was fighting, you know? And then that went on up until into my mid-20s, to my mid-20s, when I was fighting all the time. Punching walls, punching fucking glass windows. And I still wear the scars, And it didn't stop there. There was sniffing glue, taking drugs, accelerating sexual adventure to the point of torture. Going to places which are too advanced for a young being to understand, but trying to get there because of this nature of self-harm, of this torture. There's something about I can only remember it from a film because I'm not experienced in that at all myself, but it's either Catholic religion or Christian religion where they whip themselves, And it's something like, it feels like we're doing that a lot of the time when we're acting out of that place, torturing ourselves. The fighting, the rage, the aggression. For me, like the stealing cars, the joyriding, the robbery, the burglary, the fucking sex, the drugs, the violence of the soul. All of it looking for a buzz, a fix. But not really a fix, like more a break, a rip. Just something to hold on to reality, Some fake version of control, something that keeps us alive so we can just feel that we've got something, some kind of parameter around us to give us some kind of absurd pseudo version of safety. Synthetic as it may be, that is where the self-harm takes us a lot of the time. That's what we're doing. We're trying to get this some kind of like ripple, a feeling of existence, just something that makes us feel that we're alive. Do you want to hear a funny story? You do, didn't you? When I was about 15, 16, we were very much into cars, right? And obviously we weren't allowed to have driving licenses at that young age. So we used to take people's cars, And I know it's fucking wrong, and I know, but I was a very mixed up young man, very, very mixed up young man. And we used to take these cars and just fucking drive them like we was in a rally competition around our fucking area and beyond. And there was another group of little fuckers who were a little bit more heavy than we were, and they used to get up to all sorts of stuff, right? And they burgled a fire chief's house somewhere, and they took his car, right? And I don't think they knew at the time, but the car that they took was like an undercover fire person's car. So it had all the lights, all the sirens, and the fucking power of a car that is an emergency service vehicle without all of the branding. And after they had been done with it, they were bored of it, I feel, and then they gave it to me to drive around. And so I remember with my gloves on, my fucking scarf or balaclava pulled up. Me and my mates were in this car, and it was like a Nissan Serena, something like that, like a space wagon. And we're driving up and down the streets of fucking South London, and like literally, as soon as we hit any bit of traffic or there was any other cars on the road, we were just whacking this siren on, and everyone was just partying. Everyone was just getting out of the way. It was like something out of a film. We just flying down the high street, and as soon as we hit a bit of traffic and everyone was in the way, we just go bosh, and everyone would move out of the way, and all these kids in these cars were just flying past everyone, and everyone just going like, "What?" Like, thinking it was the police, and it was us little fuckers. And then eventually they sent out a chopper, to come and find out who it was, and we parked the car up, and I held onto the key because I was like, no, I can't let go of that. That was the most fun I'd ever had. And I remember the police came to our local fucking where we used to hang out, and they were searching us and questioning us, and they knew us, so they were doing it in a way that they were fucking really quite forceful with us. And I stashed the key above my head, where there was a shutter, like an awning hanging over the shop, and it was stuck right above this copper's head. And I had this little twinkle in my eye, this little smile, that while he was searching me, looking for this key, it was right above his head. And I'm not like, there is comedy in that for me, because it seems like, wow, what a fucking, who was that? You know what I mean? Who's that? But there's substance in that, right? There's information in that on this subject of self-harm, because truly, like, if you care about yourself, if you're acting out of a place of self-love, of worthiness, you would never do that. That that like adrenaline seeking fix is coming from a place of harming ourselves, you know. It's that celebration of the unworthiness. And I do bare my soul, yeah, I do, like to you guys, to anyone else as well, right? I do, simply because I'm very aware that I've become a role model, you know. And I want people to realise it doesn't matter how bad you've been, and I've been bad, yeah. It doesn't matter. Change is available to all of us, you know. And it starts with self-love. And even now, in the last few weeks, probably months, if I'm going to be really, really honest, I have been back in this theatre of self-harm, you know, and like thinking with self-torture, like putting myself down and like fucking belittling myself, ridiculing myself, shaming myself out of that place again, you know, that self-torture, that self-harm. And my mind, let me tell you about my mind, right? It's a powerful mind, yeah, and that works both ways. But when my mind is turned in on itself, it makes like CIA waterboarding look like a fucking wonderful spa day. It really does. You know, and then I take that because I'm in that space in the mind, and that is the first and foremost, right? We have to remember that is the mind, how we are and how that mind is functioning and how noisy and loud and poignant that mind is how we're going to interface with the day. Yeah. So then all of a sudden, because I'm in that place and I'm trapped inside of that program, I'm eating with violence. And I'm eating all the shit that's not good for me, you know. And I'm drinking. And man, can I drink as well? For quite a slight guy, you know, I can rip through a bottle of Rioja and I can still function at a level that is beyond many people. And that's not something I'm proud of. It's actually quite dangerous because I can almost get away with living within those confinements of harming myself and stay in this functioning, productive space. And even though it's almost like it's a safety mechanism, isn't it? You know, that I go back to. I'm able to hold on to some kind of semblance of functionality, but it's not real, you know. It's not real. You have to dig so deep to be able to find what's real to uncover, you know. And this look, what I'm talking about, it's not about drink, it's not about drugs, it's not about food. This is about the program of self-harm, yeah, and where that program comes from. And we could talk about it. We can say that it comes from the critical parent. We can say that it comes from being abused. We can say that it comes from being insulted constantly when you're young, and that going into you can say it comes from ancestral stuff. We can say that it's the fucking moon again. It's the fucking beady eye of Sauron. It's this technology on this planet that is keeping us in this fucking low ebb of vibration full of fear, paranoia, and all of the stuff of the shadow self, the shadow mind. And one of the big parts of that is self-harm and all the different ways that it shows up. From food to drink to fucking drugs to watching shit. Yeah, because we're all guilty of that. Just scrolling through shit. Scrolling upwards then, it's downwards, isn't it? Scrolling through shit, spending time with fucking shithead people. You know, we're all guilty of that as well. Spending too much time thinking you shit. You know, that's the greatest fucking lie. Let me tell you this, right? That's the greatest fucking lie that we've ever been told, is that we're not good enough. All right? And that is not us telling us that. That is the fucking shadow self mind. You know, that is the fucking self-harm. That is the program running again, you know. And so what we do is we spend too much time doing the things that are not good from us when we know they're not good for us. From this space of unworthiness, swimming in old patterns and programs, you know, with no fucking shore in sight, round and round, back and forth, up and down. And in that, we're never getting closer to what or who we really are. Now, this is the kicker, yeah, right? Is I'm not telling anyone, I'm not saying we shouldn't be able to drink wine, all right, or eat the things that we supposedly enjoy, or to smoke a spliff, or to watch an old movie we grew up with, you know, or scroll on your phone every now and again if you want to. You know what I mean? Look, hands on the table, because this is what this space is about, isn't it? You know, like this space is about honesty. Yeah. And the other night, last Friday, like I don't know why, but I was rolling, sitting here in my little office, and I was drinking a glass of or four of Rioja, and I opened up this bag of where I keep my weed and fucking stuff, and a pill fell out, a pill like an E for all you people who don't know what I'm talking about, and I thought, oh, I'll have that tonight, and I took it. And the funny thing is, it actually feels like it was part of the process that got me into where I'm taking this now, you know. And for me, like it was an incredibly beautiful journey I went on for 3 or 4 hours, where I wrote a lot, I cried a lot, I laughed a lot, I was sitting there hugging myself, crying, you know. I'm not saying, listen, again, this is me being me, and I'm just expressing myself, but I'm not telling you to go and pop ease tonight and sit down and cuddle yourself, all right? This is just one thing that happened to me spontaneously out of the blue. And so the point I'm trying to get to is that, like, it's not about like saying we can't do this and setting ourselves, no, you can't do that, because I know so many people are regimented, who live in this Spartan ideology of that, like, this is how I'm going to be, and they force themselves. And I know like good people I know in this life right now, yeah, who I believe are awake, aware, but they've got this energy that they take with themselves, which is by force. They're forcing themselves to detox, forcing themselves to fast, forcing themselves to eat healthy, you know, forcing themselves not to fucking play on their phone, or not to fucking drink a glass of wine, or not to smoke a fag, or not to watch that film because I can't. No, I can't do that because that's going to be low. And they're doing all of that. And it's the same fucking thing, you know. And if it comes from the truest part of ourselves, then what's the problem with it? If you want to, if somewhere in you, you're able to connect with that part of yourselves and go, do you know what? My truest part right now wants to eat a fucking packet of cookies. Then them cookies are not going to do you any harm, because you've acted out of that place, which is the real you, you know? So how do we access that part? How do we access the part which is truly in our best interests? Is truly about our highest regard and about being the most kindest we can be to ourselves, you know? We do that by connecting as deeply as we can with our body to turn this nutty cunt off, yeah? And the way to do that is so fucking ridiculously fucking simple, it's laughable. It genuinely is laughable. It's comical to realise that it's about breath. That's it. It's about breath. That is how we access that part again. And like anything in this life, the more that we practice something, the more that we nurture something, the more we invest in something, we get stronger with it. We're able to get stronger with it, you know? And I don't mean just sort of like little breaths. I'm talking about deep fucking breaths. Take one with me now. Take one with me now, through your nose, slowly as you can, and feel it all rising up your whole body, yeah? You start to rise. Breathing into your whole body. Somatic breathing is what it's known by, or multidimensional breathing. And I don't like those two terms because they don't resonate with me. I like to address things in the way I like to, call them what I like to. I like to call it lion's breath. Because when I do this breathing, I feel like a big fucking lion, yeah? And I'm chilling on the Serengeti, ready to laze about, or nuzzle my wife, or play with my kids, or chew a fucking hyena's head clean off his shoulders. That's the place of being for me. That place where it's all together. Everything's accessible in once, the rich fucking everything. From that place, in complete embodiment, we make the choices from our true self. And I will then, from that space, give myself exactly what I need. Maybe that's cookies. Maybe that's cabbage. Doesn't matter. It's the place we enter into. Maybe it's a glass of Rioja. Maybe it's a glass of sparkling wine. Maybe it's some fucking, I don't know, some medicine, some apple cider vinegar, some baking soda, whatever. Maybe it's a pint. So for me, right, this week, I fasted. And I have fasted many times, in my life, many times. I've done urine fasts. I've done all sorts of different fasts. And a lot of the time I feel I've never ever, like I said to Hannah the other day, I've never ever accessed a fast from the space that I have this week. And here's a little funny extra for you, right? Is that Hannah will tell you this. Every time I've ever wanted to start anything new, yeah, I've said, right, I've got to do it on Monday, right? So even if I've made that decision on Monday fucking afternoon, I'm going to carry on that fucked up process that I know is self-harm until the following Monday till I can start again. See that? That's self-harm. That is like the cousin of self-harm who's crept in to say, yeah, we're going to do good this week, but we're going to do it by force and we're going to do it like this and by structure and this is how we're going to do it. And there's some truth in that, of course. Structure is wonderful, but who's building the structure? Is it coming from that place of force and aggression and I'm going to do this? So this week on a Wednesday, actually Tuesday evening, I fasted. All right. I fasted from Tuesday evening until Friday evening. So 3 days, 72 hours. I fasted. I sat in silence. I read. I wrote. I walked. I spent time with my loved ones. And I was present. And I managed it effortlessly from a place of calm. It felt to me a real peaceful transition of stuff that I don't think I've ever connected with. Now, we have to be careful here, all right? We have to be really fucking careful. Because, like I'm saying, we can do all of those things, all right? All of those supposedly positive or good things. We can do all of those things from a place of violence too. Yeah? Yeah, even the so-called good things. And you know that place. You know that place. We all know that place is that we do it by force, right? We do it by, I am fucking enlightened, I'm telling you. I'm going to be enlightened. I'm going to force myself to become enlightened. It's like, all right, mate, who the fuck are you trying to convince over there? I'm going to fast this week. I'm going to fast by force because it's good for me. It's good. And I'm going to force myself, through sheer willpower. Now, to me, that sounds like the violence is coming through the back door. You see? It's all fucking harm when it comes from that place, a place of force. And today, I would like to hear your experiences of overcoming the space that I talk of. What you have worked through, what has worked and what hasn't worked, and how perhaps in you sharing that, the community garners. Did I just fucking say garner? Fuck me, Danny boy. You're not on countdown. All right, garner. That's enough from me. We're going to get you up to talk in a minute, right? And there's no pressure. I want to just have a conversation about self-harm, all right? And we can take it wherever you want to take it. But first up, all right? And also, we don't have to. No one has to come up either. I can just continually tell you colourful stories about my wild, wild youth and how that has made me an incredibly wise person. That's what I say to my kids a lot of the time, right? I say, do you know why I'm so fucking wise? Because I made so many mistakes. I've made so many mistakes. I've been in so much trouble. It's made me such a fucking wise man. And I'm still not wise either. I wake up every day knowing I know nothing, really. But then I think that is wisdom, isn't it? All right, so before we get started, I want to remind you of some things, some very interesting and exciting things on the horizon. On Thursday, April the 3rd, I will be taking the hot seat on the Hearing Heart. Why am I doing that? I don't know. Is that fucking self-harm? Sitting there having fucking Swiss and another 30 other shrinks analysing and evaluating you? Sounds a bit scary, doesn't it? Well, that's the reason, All right. Like I said before, is that like I am positioned at the moment as a bit of a role model, as a bit of a person that people listen to, and that's cool. I can wear that responsibility. I'm happy with that duty. I don't mind the work. Doesn't pay very well, but you know, we're getting there. So for me, it's like because I'm in that position, I really want to inspire people to be vulnerable as well. You know, I posted a meme. Yes, I'm a memer, just so you know. I posted a meme the other day that said something along the lines of most people are not strong enough to show true vulnerability. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah. It to me, vulnerability, being able to show our vulnerability is a true strength, like a true strength, especially if you're a man, because men are meant to be like, oh, bravado and I'm tough. And especially if you come from my background, then, you know, like being able to access the most vulnerable parts of yourself was a fucking no-no, a big no-no. And it still is for most people come from my background. But we're breaking down the old stuff, the old cycles, you know, and we're doing it for them as well. So for me, it feels of utmost importance to be able to show people what the hearing heart is truly about. And I'm going to use myself as the dummy to do that. So of course, there'll be a little bit of promotion for that heading towards Thursday, April the 3rd. And you'll get your newsletters and everything else and stuff as well. But I would genuinely, if you genuinely haven't experienced what the hearing heart is about, then I would be very, very inviting of you to come along and see what it is about, you know, because I believe within that discussion, we're going to get as close to fucking damn it as what the hearing heart truly is about. And I know, listen, I know lots of people on the call now, they've done the hearing heart and they observe and participate and contribute week in, week out. So you already get it, you know, you don't need me to tell you. But the idea for us is to be able to use snippets of that and make media content out of it, to be able to put it out a bit further, to say, look, listen, we're doing some serious fucking work over here. This is incredibly important, of utmost importance to mankind right now. And that's why I find it funny, right? Like, there's not thousands of people banging on the door every fucking MYGA space and every hearing heart space trying to get in. But we're fucking early, aren't we? I told you, we're fucking early. We're so early, we're standing around outside going, like, fucking hell, when are they going to open up? Where are all these bastards? We're early to our own surprise birthday party. Something in that. And then following up from that, so that's April the 3rd, my hot seat hearing heart episode, which is going to be live, by the way. So there's no way for me to edit it, even though I wouldn't, but just so you know, it's a live space. It's dynamic. It's fucking uncensored. Very much like this. So our MYGA space on the 20th of April, Sunday the 20th of April, which I believe is a morning MYGA. And again, we're going to reiterate all this with some promotion in the coming weeks to ramp it up a little bit. On the 20th of April, on our MYGA space in the morning, we are going to be presenting, and shit, I was meant to ask Ian if he was available for that before I even told everyone, but I've done it backwards. So Ian, I'm hoping you're available for that. If not, we can change it. Because Ian is our chief designer. He's our guy who comes up with all of the physical infrastructure with our input as well, the whole team's input of how we are going to make this valley into heaven on earth, quite basically. And so on Sunday, the 20th of April, if Ian's available, we will be doing a presentation of the physical part of our project, the community here on the ground in Andalusia. And we will go through everything with our plans, and we will share a presentation, a slideshow. We will tell you how it all came about. You'll meet some of the team, and we will try our best to present the physical part of this project in its entirety. And I think that is very exciting because no one knows what the fuck we're doing, including us. So it will help us as much as it helps everyone else. And then on Sunday, the 27th, which will be the following week on MYGA, which will be the evening MYGA. And again, I haven't asked any of the team this. This is what happens, see? We just muddle in and it all seems to work out. The following week on the 27th of April, we will be doing we'll be using the MYGA space to present the virtual part of our project, which is our platforms like MYGA, the Hearing Heart, the Dear Danny Show podcast, which is coming soon, are Veg Heads Children's Animation, which is very close to you lot seeing a teaser. We're very close to releasing that soon, and I'm telling you, that is fucking exciting. And this is the thing quickly as well, and I will explain this a bit more in detail when we come to the presentations. But what we're creating here, it's not just this or it's not just that. It's an entire fucking ecosystem. It all bleeds and connects and cross-pollinates into each other. So on one parts, we've got platforms to support people, then to empower people, then to inform people. And then but one of the things about Veg Heads, the children's animation, is that that's informing the kids, you know. And when you first see our pilot, which will hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll have a pilot ready. And we'll do a fucking viewing for it. Why not? Let's do a proper viewing. Maybe we could do a physical viewing somewhere. You know, I'm sure somebody would give us a fucking cinema for a few hours, and we could do an actual lovely full blown viewing of it. And it's special. Like, it's special. It's funny. It's hilarious. It's fucking silly. All the stuff kids want, but it's also incredibly informative and very, very empowering for children, because these fuckers, the kids, they're tomorrow's leaders, aren't they? You know, they're the ones that are going to take this world by the reins and take it into a new era. You know, we're just laying the groundwork for them. You know, they're the ones. And so for me, it was always of utmost importance. And that was the whole we folk part of our project, was to be able to really get into the kids, you know, not in that way, of course, but to be able to really, really get into understanding what they want, you know, who they are. And how we bring that forward as much as we can and celebrate that and promote that and put it out there, you know. So on the 27th, we'll be talking about the virtual and online part of our project. And I mean, that's got so many different parts to it. And there's lots of different parts that are still arriving. You know, the marketplace is something that's only just come up very soon. And that's going to be presented and released in the coming weeks as well. You know, we've got so many things we're working on, I can't tell you. You know, our own news show or news channel, like, that is one of the most exciting and hilarious ideas we've ever had. You know, it's brilliant. It's just, these things take a lot of time. And especially, you have to understand, we work off the basis where most of the people in our project have got full-time jobs. So they give whatever time is available to them to be able to support what we're doing. And, you know, that we have to be patient for at the moment until the dam breaks and abundance rushes into us and we get the funding that we need to take this project to where it has to go. And I've got absolutely no doubt in my heart at all that it's going to happen. It's just taking much fucking longer than I could be bothered to wait, you know. But there's something in that as well for me, isn't there, you know? So we're going to use all this time to present our project in its entirety, yeah? So you can meet the team and we can talk about all the other stuff. You know, you can, maybe there can be a little bit of a Q&A as well. Who knows? We'll see. We haven't really gone into the details of it yet, but it's coming soon. And those are the dates that you'll be informed about shortly. Lastly, next week, we're going to talk truth. All right. And I know that is like an enormous fucking topic. And people are like, what, truth? Like, what does that even fucking mean in this day and age? But I feel we can manage it. You know, I feel like between us, we can probably get to a space where we understand what that truth means and how we can use that, interface that into our lives. All right. So thank you for your patience and letting me go on one of my rambles. I know it's a Sunday morning, but everyone's just still waking up and going, fucking hell, has he had like 20,000 cups of coffee injected into his eyeball? No. But I did do a coffee enema the other day. That's fun. Yeah, that's real fun, that is. I'm pretty certain I'm heterosexual after that. Anyway, without further ado, let's get some people up, shall we? I want to hear all about your stories. Come forth, you fuckers.
Hello.
Hello, Kate, darling. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. Interesting, because I've just self-sabotaged myself.
Yay! Yes!
Because I literally sat there and thought, no one's going to want to hear what I got to say because I said something last week. So, you know, I don't want to come up and people get annoyed with me because they'll be like, oh God, not her again. You know, what's she got to say? We don't want to listen to her. And then I just went, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. So sorry, apologies to everyone who doesn't want to listen to me, but I'm here anyway. Interestingly enough, with all the conversations we've been going on about this morning, I don't know if you remember my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him briefly. I met him briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
probably know more about him than I've actually experienced with him.
Yeah. He's 83 this year, and you wouldn't know it at all. And both him and my mom had, I think they had 1 or 2 jabs. And I'm pretty sure, like, my dad's the kind of person who will go and get a cigar on non-smoking day because he won't be told that he can't smoke. So for me, it was a massive shock when they went and got the jabs, but I think they fell into that category of, because they're of that age, the fear set in, and because, you know, they're very avid news listeners, you know, so I think that the fear set into them, particularly because of their age. But anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent there. I went to see them yesterday, and I was having some really interesting conversations with him because I think we were talking about my food budget. And as a single mom, I find it quite hard to get healthy food into the family on what money I have. But it's my biggest outgoing. And there's a lot of things that I feel like I can't compromise on.
Mm.
And I sat there having a conversation with him. And go back, he's 83, he's still climbing ladders, he's still building porches. They have the most amazing veg patch, like it's amazing and it's immaculate. And he's out there, Jack went over there yesterday to help them. He's still burning fires, you know, the lot. And you wouldn't know he was 83. You'd probably think he was like 63, something like that. And sat down, I always have like sort of like irate conversations with him because we're both kind of that temperament. And I was talking to him about the food budget, and then he was going, well, what are you spending that amount of money on? And I was just like, well, you know, I want to get organic food, I want to do this, and I refuse to buy meat from supermarkets, I want to go to the butchers and da 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 da. And then he was going, but you're buying organic food? And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah, but you do realise that it's not organic. And I went, oh no, I've been doing research on it, and I know that organic actually means that they just stop putting the pesticides on it a month before they sell it. And it's all a farce. And I don't know if everybody knows that organic meat is not truly organic. They just stop injecting it. And they still vaccinate organic meat. It doesn't make it organic. So it's like trying to find the farms that don't vaccinate, which is very few and far between.
And pricing.
And then my dad was like, he said to me, he goes, yeah, but you do realise that all the seeds that you're getting are not organic because they've been GMO, they've been this,
fuck off, Dad.
That. And then I was like, you really put a dumpling down on this. But you know what, right? I kind of needed that talk. I needed that, like, because I'm like what you were saying, I'm so regimented, and I'm so like, I look at the kids and I'm like, you're not eating that, you're not drinking that, you're not doing that. And then I like think of like my life before, and I look at it like what I used to drink, what I used to eat. I mean, I've fairly been a quite healthy person because of my parents. You know, I grew up with them growing veg. I grew up with them doing all this kind of stuff.
You're a country girl as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So like, it's so I needed that. I needed that talk yesterday because I was just like, the amount of money that I'm forking out monthly, and maybe I'm like spending money on that, but am I truly living? Am I self-sabotaging me and possibly the family because I'm so regimented on what we're eating? And I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and eat McDonald's every frigging day. I mean, like, McDonald's isn't food to me, so I ain't even going there. And I'm proud to say that my 14-year-old son still hasn't had a McDonald's. High five to me. But I mean, I'm sure he's done some other terrible things that I'm unaware of.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not much more terrible than fucking McDonald's. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want? Do you want to have a fucking yoga mat with your fucking chicken nuggets?
Yeah. But yeah, and I sort of like, I went out yesterday and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to chill out about this. So I went out and I went to a couple of different shops, went to some butchers, and like my dad said to me, he was like, well, why don't you go to a butcher's? Go and ask for a 4-quarter. He said, we get that and that lasts us a year. 4-quarter of beef.
A 4-quarter.
And he was like, that lasts.
What is a 4-quarter?
So it's this. It's like basically the front leg to down to the rib.
Oh yeah.
But it's like I had a whole education on this yesterday, Dan. So he was like, well, that's what you want to get, because as you go further back, the meat gets more expensive just because of its name. So it then becomes your sirloins, your ribeye, and it's not, you know, the beef's beef. It comes from the whole animal. It doesn't make like, it's just, again, it's that theory of you know, organic stuff and all of this. It's just like, at the end of the day, I mean, you can get better qualities of meat, but the meat's the meat at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So he was like, why don't you do that? Well, anyway, so I went out yesterday and I was like, do you know what? I've been taking life too seriously, because it goes back to that, regimented, but what quality of life are we having at the end of the day? Well, and I mean, it's like, I'm not saying you should go and eat all the crap. I'm not saying that. No. But like, it's balance, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's doing it out of the space of like what he's like. I truly believe we can eat things that are supposedly not good for us, that are supposedly inorganic, and I think that our body assimilates that in a different way if we're doing it out of a space that is like, we are completely within that realm of self-love. I believe there's something in us that will counteract that, will counterbalance it. You know, and because if you're going out your way and you're sort of causing yourself stress to be able to make sure I have to eat organic, I have to do it like this, I have to fucking fast, I have to sit in silence, then I'm sorry, that's not working for you. It's not working. Yeah. It's coming out of that place of violence again, you know?
Yeah. And that's it. It's just that at the end of the day, and I think when I look back at like 10 years ago, and there's obviously a lot of things that I've had to deal with in life and stuff like that. And a lot of things, like I found that since I gave up alcohol, there's so much things that have come to the forefront because I used alcohol as a
sedative.
And a distraction. And it's how I went out and had fun. And it's like, but then I feel like now I don't know. I don't remember the last time I had fun. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's that trying to find that balance of like not going out and just getting smashed and like doing what I did before, which again was a degree of self-sabotage, but maybe finding that balance. And that's not to say that like I want to go out and drink again, because I think if I had one glass of wine right now,
I know of people who like say you invite someone out. Like I know there's people out there, and I've got people within my circle I'm speaking of. They will, like, if you say we're going out for dinner to the restaurant, it's Thingy Bob's birthday, and they're like, oh, okay, and they're going, what restaurant are you going to? We're going to, you know, the fucking that Indian down on the high street, or wherever, and they'll ring the fucking Indian to find out what they're cooking with, what oils they're cooking with.
Yeah.
You know, to me, like it's just going to a point where, like, within that is like, you could say that, like, is it necessary to ask that? Like, I don't know. I think people are trying to create. I think what it is, right? People are shit fucking scared. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what they want to do is they want to hold on to as much control in their lives. So they don't feel so scared anymore. But that fear is not coming from fucking the wrong oils that your local curry house is cooking. That's not that, right? It's not fear that you're not eating organic. It's something else. It's up here. It's a frame of mind or a frame of being that is like, it's not acting out of our space of true love. Because love doesn't have any fucking fear. When you enter into that space, when you really enter into that body of love, there is no fear. There's no fear there.
Well, I'll go back to my dad again, and I think he's 83. He has drunk copious amounts of alcohol. Like, that's where I get my constitution from, because you know that I could drink, and it's I get it from, you know. And he's a whiskey drinker, and him and my mom will have a couple of glasses of whiskey every single day.
Mm.
You know, they might mix it up with a bit of gin, have a bit of a gin and tonic.
Yep.
You know, Saturdays always used to be when I was 12. That's what we would drink. It was a gin and tonic. I was given gin and tonic, and you know, and I look at my dad and I think, well, he's 83. He's not done any strict. He's kept himself fit, but he's never gone to the gym. He's not a gym goer, but he's kept himself fit with working the land. You know, he used to ride horses. He would do that, and he like. I think to myself, if I can get to 83 and be as fit as he is, and look what he's endured and gone through, and I think, well, I ain't playing the game right here, am I? Because,
well, this is the thing, yeah. If you take like loads of different places around the world, it don't matter really where. Like, it's not geographically regimented, but to the point where you can say like, you can take like Sicilian people or something, yeah, and they're living to like 100, and they're smoking, they're drinking, and their lifestyle is completely the opposite of what a doctor would tell you. This is the way you should live. And the same in Greece. I mean, I remember being out in Greece and there was like the old people out there were drinking fucking ouzo by the bucket load.
Yeah.
And they were like 95s, 98s, you know. And so the thing is, I think like, a lot of the time we are causing the violence within ourselves, the self-harm. We are causing that, but based on the way that we're trying to regiment and control our entire existence, because this is the way we have to do it. Life is not like that. Life is spontaneous, and I don't know whether like if someone's got a crutch, like if someone is like you say that. Like, I mean, I spoke to Hannah about it the other day, and she said that she never ever feels like she wants a drink ever. So for her, it doesn't ever come up, you know. And so, but for me, sometimes I feel like I'd like to have a glass of wine, right? So, as long as that's coming out of a space of like it's like a happy space. It's a space of like I'm not
enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to run away from something or using something as a crutch. Then I can't see what the issue is with that. And it's the same across the board. Like, it's only doctors and fucking pseudoscience that's told us about how dangerous nicotine is for you, how bad tobacco is for you. Well, now actually you're looking at a lot of independent research. A lot of independent research is saying that fucking nicotine is one of the things that can actually combat fucking nanotechnology. You know, and it's actually quite good for the respiratory system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, the thing is,
it's a plant, isn't it? At the end of the day, so like, it's nature. It's not like I don't believe there's anything. Yes, there's elements of nature that can be dangerous, because the problem is, I think as humans, we think that the whole world is revolved around us. Everything is planted for us. Everything is about us, and it's like no. It's like, you know, that saying where people say like, oh, go get into nature, go and spend some time in nature, and I'm like, but we've forgotten we are frigging nature. We don't have to go spend time in it. We are nature. It's within us. We just built concrete jungles around us. That's what happens. There's nothing, you know, like we're no different as nature goes to the cow that's out in your field, to the sheep, to the bird that's flying. We're all part of it, you know, and we've forgotten that because we think that we are superior to any other nature out there. And I've said it from day one. I can remember walking the fields when I was a kid, and it would just be like, nature wins every single time. Every single time it wins. You can't fight it. And it will have us. It will have us, and it will be to our own demise.
Well, it fits nicely into what we're talking about, because if you think on one hand, you've got ego, which is the superiority complex, which is that I'm better than nature. And on the other hand, it's eco, which is what we are. You know, it's like we are fucking nature. How have we stepped outside of that fucking wonderful cycle and positioned ourselves at the top? You know, and still, I still eat meat, and I'll probably continue to eat meat. And I still believe that's all part of the wonderful circle of life. You know, because no one's sitting there going, listen, that lion, his fucking carbon footprint's a bit high, that lion in the jungle. He needs to start eating some fucking salads. If he doesn't become a vegan in the next few years, the world's going to implode because of that lion. You know, it's ridiculous. It's only because
I'm sorry, I'll probably trigger people here, but I'm sorry, more animals are killed in the name of veganism than they are ever in the meat
planet's
industry.
destroyed because again, it's again about control. It's a trendy word that is being used to control us.
How cute does an animal have to be before you get concerned about it? Because the worms, the mice, the birds, all of those get destroyed every time you plough a field.
Yeah.
But because they don't matter, they don't look cuddly like a cow, like, you know, whatever. But they're still part of the ecosystem. They're the fine print, and without them, you know, we don't have anything. And it's just
Absolutely.
like people don't seem to understand or realize that. I mean, I'm a massive fan of like Native American. I
Mm.
feel maybe somewhere along the lines I was that in a past life or whatever. But you know, I love the way that they animals were a sacrifice and they blessed them, and every
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
animal was used.
What an
You know, I
honor.
just had my breakfast this morning, and my breakfast was a bacon, eggs, and sausages. And
Ah, leave
before
off.
I did it, I blessed
I've been
I
fasting
blessed
for
the
3 days.
food, and and I gave thanks for that animal that has given nourishment to me, because
Absolutely.
you know it is a sacrifice,
Mm.
and it is, I'm very extremely thankful for that.
Mm.
But it's part of the circle of life,
Yeah.
and and as far as I'm concerned, death is never the end anyway.
No.
So no matter like what happens,
Yeah.
it's not the end. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say anyway, Dan.
Well, honestly, thank you very much for that contribution, because it's very, very valuable. Because I think a lot of the time we are doing our best to live in this sort of like very much like ideological enlightenment of like, this is the way to be a positive, high frequency being, and I'm not going to do anything else outside of this. And it's all a load of fluff. It's a load of fucking flannel, and it's again, it's the fucking bollocks coming in through the back door. We just have to live. You know,
Yeah,
whatever that looks like, it looks different for everyone. There's no formula that works for me and you and everyone at the same time. We're all just expressing ourselves in spontaneity, and may it continue.
I do think as well we eat too much. Full stop.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Like I think we need to intuitively eat. You know, eat if you're hungry. And I think the thing is, in this modern day world, we have no idea what hunger feels like, because we've never had to suffer. We've never
Whoa,
had to.
hold on a minute. I've been pretty fucking hungry the last few days, let me tell you.
Yeah, but that's your choice. It's your
Wait,
choice.
do you
You
want to know
have a
about
choice.
do you want to know about real self harm? Right, I'm fasting. I'm fucking very, very hungry, and I was going to say starving then, but I'm not. I'm very, very hungry, and I sit there and I watch cooking clips on Instagram.
That's just
That's the proper self, like another level of self harm. That's like fucking
that really is
Champions
so
League self harm. All right, Kate, I'm going to get some other ladies up because we've
yeah.
got two people up here.
Cheers.
Darling, thanks for your
Thank you.
contribution. It's brilliant. Thank you very much. I wonder if Hannah, my lovely wife, is still listening. Darling, any chance of some egg on toast after this? We'll see, shall we? I'll let you know. Oh, she's just thrown up a heart. That's it. What a beautiful lady. Come on then, let's get Tracy up. All right, Trace.
Hello.
How are you, darling?
Great topic.
Great one, isn't it?
Actually going through all the ways I hate myself. Like,
You
and
are
there's
brilliant.
so much like being presented to me. It's just incredible. And I'm trying to work it out. And it's like kind of I love that conversation with Kate where our place in nature has been forgotten.
Mm.
And so sometimes like I might go out and ask, hey, you know, Big Mama, like, what do you see in me? You know, and that's always interesting. But like kind of the self-harm, it's right. You're right, where kind of the food industry and how we approach food is really stressful. And so what I find is like there's all these good intentions, but they're not going to gain traction because I'm not coming from that place of the core of my being, my love, and where I want to co-create, you know. But what has been presenting itself, where I hate myself especially, is in the connections that I have with other people. And there is a lot of themes where I'm being actually gaslit a lot. My truth is being gaslit. My path is being gaslit. My spiritual awareness is being gaslit. How I see reality is being gaslit. And there's all these like kind of things against myself. And I'm noticing it's because I don't own myself, you know. I don't own these like kind of unique aspects of my being. I'm not fully owning that. you know. So people are gaslighting over my spiritual awareness, you know, because I'm not so plugged into religion, I'm not so plugged into all these things that we're told to do, or spiritual bypassing, you know. So it's really difficult, but I'm finding that it's a really good idea if there are people who cannot take your truth, who cannot like kind of, who are not aligned. It's really good to just let go of those people and not feel so guilty, because like I can be incredibly, I'm an empath, and it's like kind of gets really hard, those dynamics where like it might not be your crap, but you really want to sort that stuff out, you know. So I'm finding that I'm really hating myself, in a way where I put myself last, you know, sorting other people's stuff out. So I don't need to do that anymore. But it's so interesting, where there's all these labels that we call what we put on our spiritual journey, on our path, on our abilities, on our innate capabilities. And what's really difficult for me is because I haven't got a label for that, because all these labels that we call ourselves, it's just an ill-fitting suit to me. Like, kind of, I'm not a clairvoyant, I'm not a seer, I'm not all these things. And it's like really hard to find, to define myself, because I just feel I just don't fit in those categories, you know. So it's really hard to like kind of dive into myself and go, who am I? You know, why am I like this? Why is my awareness always like kind of as it is? And why is it the moment I kind of speak to people in a like kind of open way, it's gaslit, at the moment. And yeah, it's a big process where I'm trying to like get into myself and like shed all these layers and layers and layers. And my for the past few weeks has been really interesting, where there's like my great being, my higher self, has really sat inside my body, and it's really sorting my ego out. There's been a process where it's like kind of just these waters have just been flooding from me, and they're really like full of like galactic waters, old programs and things. But now the process is I'm really splitting apart of, like there's me, my true self, my natural being, and how I am in this world. And then there's all these programs that have been like placed upon me from, where I've spoken my truth, and how it's like kind of how people react to that. So like I'm really splitting myself apart at the moment. And it's kind of a really uncomfortable process, to be fair. It's like I'm letting go of that psyche in me that really like really follows these like kind of outside people who turn into that kind of Agent Smith, and they really don't know they're doing that. You know, you know, and so they could be really well-intended people, but really they're coming at me in a way that's going to make me doubt myself. It's like it's really, I feel there's a really, really big theme in the collective where I'm presented with all these things, and it is connected to the whole, really. Like every part of us that we heal is so connected to the whole. So like when I'm walking my path, I am really seriously walking my path. It's like I've lost so many people. Like I am walking my path, and it's like I'm at this place where I just can't compromise myself anymore.
No.
But it is so difficult. It's just it's a lonely ride.
Yeah.
And I'm quite emotional this Sunday, because it's just been a ride this the week, you know. But I feel like no matter the weather, or what the narratives have to say about me, and no matter how difficult that is, no matter how many times I'm knocked off my path or barked to be stepped into line, to stay in line, it's like I can't do it anymore. And it's like kind of
But is that not a beautiful indication though, Trace, of like you're starting to love yourself more, so you won't allow that shit,
Yeah, totally.
you
And
know?
it's like you have to be like kind of standing your own power for that.
Mm,
And it's like kind of like I'm noticing when I do and when I'm knocked off that power, it's where I'm not loving myself, like, or
totally.
or where like I'm not owning these like kind of I'm not fully owning the multidimensional aspects of myself because I've
Mm.
not got a label for that. I can't categorize it. And so whenever I speak about reality to everyday people, friends, family, it's really difficult. And I have to let go. I have to let go of certain people, and it's really breaking my heart because
What about if you didn't let go of them though, and like just playing devil's advocate here? Like what I find sometimes in my life, like when all of the shit happened, and I feel like the wonderful thing about the pandemic was that it separated the wheat from the chaff, and we kind of like knew straight away, like who are the people who fucking really see what's going on. And look, that can always change as well, right? It doesn't mean like, oh, because you didn't see it back then that you're fucked. I mean, people can always change, but that to me was quite a nice acid test to be able to sort of understand like who gets it and who we can kind of talk to on the level. And I feel like once that first happened for me, I was very much sort of like, well, I can't be around those people. And yet it feels like as I've softened or I've got more connected to who I really am, and I suppose I'm acting more out of a place of love. Like I can entertain those situations in a place of which is a little bit more. I would say that sometimes going into the superficial or the not so heavy conversation, and it's sort of like just being with people as opposed to sort of going into the conversations with some kind of like maybe like an agenda, subconscious agenda. It felt like a lot of the time, like I wanted to like come on, like fucking hell, come with us, you know. And it's sort of that subconscious agenda. I think sometimes it can be felt by the other party, and then it kind of unravels itself. And then I feel like they think that we're either fucking crazy or we're coming from a place of like a little bit of arrogance or authority that we know better than them. And so I feel like what that does a lot of the time, it breaks the bridges down again. And I have got loads of relationships now. I can think of a dozen off the top of my head where I have still what I would say strong bonds of affection with people I do care about and I love, and I would fucking help at the drop of a hat. However, I know that there's partly stuff that I won't go near, you know, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with setting those boundaries around those relationships because I think the relationship is worth that investment, and that's not giving away any less of myself. It's not like I'm now being fake. It's just that I'm just not going into the places that I feel that are charged or they're too confronting for the other people. And you know what the really fucked up funny thing is when I go into that neutral place and I sit there in that conversation, they start coming along and they start like poking me, going like, "What was that you said about them?" And like almost even if it's not straight down the rabbit holes, it's kind of like off, like where is the rabbit hole kind of vibe. And so I feel like there's something in that. It's like the stronger and more concrete we get in our values of who we really are, then I don't think we need to. I don't think we truly have to like to put it out there as much as we may be used to. You know,
yeah, definitely.
because we're all fighters. That's the fucking problem. And like you know me, I'm fucking full of fire, mate. I bring the brimstone to the fucking conversation at the kitchen table.
Yeah, I can
You
be
know.
fiery too sometimes, and it's like sometimes I don't realize how fiery I am being, but it's not like, it's like truth, really. It's just truth just pouring out, and it's just you don't realize like kind of how people are, but there is a lot of I must be insane. That's the one. I'm crazy. That is always like kind of put back. But I'm really trying to work on that part of me that is not owning. There must be something within these dynamics, within these conversations where I'm not owning a part of myself for these kind of comebacks to
Mm,
happen.
mm,
So that's really interesting and like kind of it doesn't matter what people are doing. I have got to like kind of sometimes dull myself down
mm,
to fit into family dynamics or,
mm,
or, or not my immediate family,
mm,
because my household, but like it's like I'm trying to work out how to like not so much dull myself down, but how to navigate these conversations where I might be full, I might not be full on, or 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 how to give myself, you know. That I'm finding that's really new now, because like it's like I'm in a place of really really I'm so much more interested in myself and what my core of my being is doing rather than anyone else. And that's really interesting. And it's like kind of, and now I find I'm in a level where I can see what's really happening inside of other people, but I'm also trying to find a way how to speak that, and how to just find how to feel into myself and take a breath and just what does this person need me to say, you know.
Well, you said it there, Trace. You said it. Take a breath.
Yeah.
You know, and if we go back into that space again, and then like we're very much like always trying to get back to that breath, and that breath really is like this. That's going back into us again, and that is our investment. Is symbolic of our self love again. It's sort of like saying, you know, take a breather now. Here's my fucking boundaries again. This is me. This is where I end. This is where you start, and I'm not letting any of that get in my way, you know. And so it's all of it all the time. The way we interact with other people, it's always intrinsically tied to how we feel about ourselves. So that's why we have to constantly come back to that and always just say, like, okay, well, maybe there's something in me that like is triggered by that. Maybe I've got my own value issues or my worth issues, or I'm not convinced about what I'm truly saying yet, or something. Whatever. I don't know. It's different in every situation, isn't it? But to me, I feel like a lot of the time it is symbolic of how we feel about ourselves. Because if you turn up and you're like, you know what, I've got a spring in my step today, and fucking no one can touch me. No one around that table is going to annoy you because they can't touch you, you know, and you'll probably have a good time.
Great advice. Yeah.
And the thing is, as well, Trace, right? To be insane in an insane world is to be sane.
Oh, well, I'm really
All
saying
right,
then.
that's a double fucking negative. Do you know? All right.
Yeah.
And look, just to touch on it, because you said about truth as well. That's next week's topic. So it's going to be a very, very interesting adventure, a discovery into it, because I haven't got a fucking clue what we're going to talk about yet. It hasn't come to me, but I know that it's a conversation that is desperate to be had. You know, what is truth, and how do we act out of it?
Yeah. That'll be a really bright conversation then.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Danny.
Tracy, thank you, darling. As always, a wonderful fucking contribution to our conversation. And you have to play us a song one day, Trace.
I will. I will.
All right.
But with my songs, it's not like, you know, it's like it has to be spontaneously gathered in.
Listen, you turn up here with your guitar in your hand, spontaneous enough for me.
I will, round the campfire.
All right, darling.
Thank you so much.
See you, sweetheart. Ian, could we bring Mary up, please? And then we're gonna do Mary, talk to Mary, and then we are going to talk to Ro, and then that's going to be it for today. So if you do put your hands up now, you have to put you on next week's guest list, the VIP, straight to the front. Hello, Mary. Darling, if you could just unmute your mic, there's like a little microphone sign, and you can just press that, and it will unmute you, and we can hear you. No, that's not it. Are you using an iPhone? No, just a normal laptop. Yeah. Oh, phone. Right. Well, there's somewhere down the bottom is all these icons, and one of them's like a little microphone. It should have like a red line going through it, and that when you press that, that will unmute you, and then we can be able to hear you. There you go. Oh, you pressed it, and then you pressed it again. There you go. We got you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mary, darling. How are you?
Okay.
Okay. Come on, let's dive into that, because that doesn't sound like a real okay to me.
Mine's just a bit of like, I know when you've got an external factor that shapes your mood, as in I have a child with really bad mental health, and it's how I don't live in fight or flight every day. when he's having bad mental health and he's always gets suicidal, always has those thoughts. He's had self-harm in the past. He's got ADHD and autism, and he just doesn't deal with emotions or feelings, and they get dumped at my feet. It's very difficult when that's the outside factor that determines your mood and how you feel. Because if it's not your child, it's so much easier. When it's your child, you just feel that responsibility. And I keep thinking I need to go and see the GP maybe, because when I get stressed, it goes to my stomach and I can't eat. So I weigh about 49 kilo now, which is not healthy. I'm a midwife within the NHS. I'm trying to keep my career. And when I was a child and I didn't have a safe space, I think I wanted to become that, which he's a lot. And I don't know how to switch off the nervous system that feels like it's being hunted for sport. It's that crippling.
Well, first and foremost,
to function in that place.
Mary, first and foremost, that is incredibly brave for you to come up and share that with us. Yeah. And I think that's it's so inspiring, you know. And if you don't mind, can I ask you some questions? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Does your son live with you?
Yeah. Well, he had his own flat, and it was obvious he couldn't live on his own. And he's had that much mental health in the past year, with hospital admissions, crisis team involvement, police involvement. He's actually staying in the caravan on my drive at the moment. We have had a disability funding grant given for him to allow him to live with us. I'm just waiting for permission for that from the housing. I don't know whether that will go ahead or not. But that also frightens me as well, because it's like I'm inviting that chaos. But then when he's there under my nose, I know where he is and I know that he's safe. It's
a dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And have you got a partner with you?
Yeah.
What is it? Your son's dad?
No, my son's stepdad.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've got very, very close family experience with exactly the same situation you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I really feel you. I really, truly do. And I know how difficult that is when someone that you love is destroying themselves, and by default, they're destroying you as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, there's if we're talking about first and foremost bodily factors, yeah, bodily factors of how do I stop my body feeling like this, then there's lots and lots of different mechanisms that we can almost, I like to call biohack. It's like a way of biohacking your system to be able to calm it down. And there's techniques of breathing, There's techniques of understanding how the vagus nerve works within our system and within our bodies, and what we can do to help that relax. I don't know whether you're in our Telegram group, Mary, our MYGA Telegram group, but there's
Yeah.
lots of people in there who are far better to talk about this kind of stuff and this than me. And I believe there's a couple of people, Izzy and Dan, and another lady as well, called Ashley, and they offer spaces that are helping people to be able to learn how to practice supporting their system in grave moments of stress, which you're going through very, very in a close way, but in the collective sense, we're all going through a lot of stress at the moment. You know, we've all got our lives, but then what's going on in the world is all a lot of heavy collective stress on us. And so it's beneficial for everyone to start to understand how we can manage that in the best way possible within our bodies. So, and this is the deep part, Mary, right? Is that unfortunately, a lot of the time, what happens is that the situations that we allow to take place in our lives, they are a massive indication of our own self-worth and self-love, regardless of whether that is our loved ones, whether that is someone close to us. At some point, to be able to prioritize our own well-being and our own mental health and emotional health, we have to create safe boundaries for ourselves. We have to. Now, it feels to me that your boundaries are very much fluid with your son, and there's no sort of place where you can feel safe within yourself, you know? And so for me, of course, on one hand, we've got the opportunity to be able to learn how we can affect the body with breathing, with stretching, with meditation or sitting in silence, whatever you want to call it, with our diet sometimes, with our practices. A lot of that is very much available to us in the logistical sense. But on the other side of it, in our emotional field with that person, are you able to set strong boundaries with your son? To be able, or is he not able to enter into sort of a balanced conversation?
You have to pick your moments with him, and when you speak to him, if he's ready to receive that information, because when you tell him how he's made you feel, he doesn't want to hear that, because what he will do with that then is that will set him off again, because he will hate himself then. And he'll say, I'm a bad person and I'm ruining your life. So it's difficult to have those conversations sometimes with him. When you can, and he's receptacle, he will listen at the time, and he'll say, I know, and I understand, and I promise I won't do it again. And then he does it again.
And is there substance abuse in his life?
Has been in the past, but his latest psychotic episode was from some ADHD meds that they'd put him on. They just fire these dexamphetamines at him and send him out into community.
Bizarre, isn't it? Absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, and I so want him to be, because he puts everything into a relationship that he's in.
He's got a girlfriend.
Yeah. He'll put everything into that. And then this is where we had the other day, because she finished with him, and just 48 hours ago, I had the police out looking for him, because he told me he'd got a rope and he was off and it was too late. And this is what he was going to do. And all I can do in that situation, I just curl up in the fetal position, because I just can't cope. Because in my head, I'm convinced. I don't want to listen to what's being said on the phone, but I don't want to put the phone down. Because if I put the phone down and I miss that call, it's crazy. And I can't, when he comes through the front door, I don't want to meet him in that chaos. I'm trying to meet him from a calm place. I don't want, I'm trying to it's so difficult.
Do you know what it's like you're talking about my younger brother, you know,
Yeah,
and my mum, I've sat and my mum said exactly what you just said, you know.
yeah.
She's gone through the same thing over and over again.
Mm.
And if I was to share with you my mum's experiences and what she done to be able to counteract that, and like as being a son who I don't like, have you got other kids?
Yeah, three
Yeah,
others, yeah.
yeah, and how are they?
Um, as in themselves, or
Yeah, how are they with you? How's their relationship with this brother?
mm, difficult,
Yeah,
because they obviously they want to protect me.
absolutely.
And they see what the effect it has on me, and that all they want is to encourage him to help himself. So
Mm,
he's not, if he heals himself, he's not bleeding over all of us.
mm,
But getting him to do that is very difficult with his ADHD. Even if he enters into like a self-help group, will he listen? Will he take that on board? I don't know.
how old is he, Mary?
30.
30, yeah. Yeah, like I say, we've been dealing with this with my brother, and I don't think he'd mind me talking about it because he's doing all right now, bless him. We've been dealing with this for a long time with my mum and me, and how I interact with it all as well, and how I
Yeah.
set very, very strong boundaries for me when, especially when my children were born. You know, there's a lot of mental health issues in my family. There's a lot of substance abuse. There's a lot of drama, a lot of violence. You know, a lot of rage. And when my kids were born, I was absolutely adamant that they were never going to be around that. And I feel personally, this is my take on it, is that we, no matter who it is, we have to set strong boundaries around ourselves because otherwise we are going to get pulled into the fucking tornado and ripped to pieces. And so it sounds very, very difficult. You put yourself in a right difficult situation that the boundary is living on your drive. You know? But jokes aside, like there is still a way, even if we are in the situation, even if that person is living in our close proximity, there is still a way for us to maintain a very strong boundary that protects ourselves first and foremost. Because if you're not doing that, what are you doing anyway? Like I used to say to my mum a lot of the time, I said, "Mum, we're hindering him. That's what we're doing. We're hindering his opportunity for growth because we're supporting him all the time. And like, what do you need? What do you need?" And it's almost like it's coming from a place of guilt because I'd done fucked up things to him when I was a kid. You know, he's my younger brother and I was mental, you know, mental. I was having my own fucking issues with drug abuse and violence, and I bashed him and I bashed my older brother. We just bashed each other up like for years. And so I feel like there was a lot of guilt in me about like how he was going out into the world and like my part in that. And so I tried to help him all the time. I used to give him jobs and work and fucking, and it was like, wasn't long, give him cars and everything, you know. Oi, oi.
Dog.
Is that a Staffy?
Lola.
She a Staffy?
No, she's a pocket bully.
Oh, beautiful. And I found for me, in my experience with it, that I was hindering the situation. I was hindering any chance that he was having of moving on or finding any sort of like responsibility for his own actions in his own life. Because every time there was a consequence, we would like familiarize ourselves over the consequence. We'd got to put a blanket over him, going, "Oh, it's all right, we understand," and then it would carry on again. And so sooner or later, it was a case of just saying, "So, do you know what? Listen, this is not acceptable. This behaviour. I know you might have mental health issues, haven't we? Fucking all, you know. But we cannot continue like this. There has to be a very strict boundary of respect for one another. You know, of how you can act. And if you can't act in that way, then you need to take yourself away from my vicinity and go and sort yourself out. If that means breathing or sitting down or whatever. And look, there's stuff available to the man, yeah? And he is a man, isn't he? You know, he's a man. You know, he's got to take some kind of responsibility for his own existence here. He has to. And the more he does that, the more pride he's going to have. And then he's not going to want to talk to his mum in a rude way or express perhaps dysfunctional or damaging behaviour in front of his mum. He's going to want to be a man. He's going to want to be looking after his mum, putting his arm around his mum, taking care of her, you know. And I feel that one of the reasons that my brother is able to move through a lot of this stuff, and trust me, he's still going through it, as am I to a certain degree. He's now got an element of self-control. He's now got an element of pride about his situation, and his explosive, dramatic episodes, they're getting less and less and less, you know. So it's not for me to sort of tell you what boundaries to set with anyone, right? I'm very clear about that all the time, right? We have to take on our own individual endeavor in this world, and we have to figure out what feels right for us. But I can already feel what I'm saying is hitting home with you. I can feel it, you know. And it goes for everyone else on the call today, right? But setting our boundaries with people, that is not sort of being mean, or it's not being selfish. It's just being correct. Yeah, we have to have enough fucking self-worth to say that we don't want to be treated like that. I don't want to be spoken to like that. I don't want that drama around me. Yeah, and the more we do that, the more people see how we're living, and they want a bit of it. And then by example, they start to take on a little bit of that. And we're not doing it from a place of aggression or shouting or any of that. It's coming from a place of calm. It's like, breath, this is who I am. I don't want to be treated like that. I don't want that, you know? And so I want to leave that seed with you today, Mary. Yeah, I don't want to go into any more of it, because what I would like to do is invite you onto the Hearing Heart on Thursday, because I'm actually going to be facilitating the Hearing Heart this week, and I feel by experience there's not many people better in the world to talk to you about this. So if you fancy it, then I would like to invite you to come and talk to me on the Hearing Heart this week, and we can go into it a little bit more, and perhaps examine what is behind your involvement in this, you know, and how do we separate that this is not your existence, Mary, this is your son's existence. Yeah. And once we've separated that, we can look at what was holding it together. And once we know what's holding it together, we can forgive that. And once we forgive it, we can accept it, and then we can start to move into the logistical, productive side of stuff. Is like, what works now? What is going to work for me? How do we create a structure, a boundary that is safe for me, but it's also still supporting my son? And that's possible. It's possible. And I would even go as far to say,
outcome, really, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's finding that.
But I would even offer as well, look, I'll talk to your son. I don't know if he knows me. I don't know if he knows my work, you know, but like, I'll talk to him. You know, and like I say, he's like fucking, I've been there. You know, I've been there myself. Like what he's going through, I've been there myself. And I've actually witnessed it in my brother as well. You know, like to a very, I would say, quite a damaging level, where the felt like that we were going to lose him, you know.
Oh, that's every day for you, for me.
I know,
every day.
darling, I know it. I can feel it, sweetheart. I can feel it. You know, I've been through this with my old lady for fucking years, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that if I was to speak to my mum, and I was to say, Mum, what do you think really helped? You know, what is the thing that really, really helped you, supported you in dealing with this, and what has really, really supported Steve in getting past that stage? I think she would say boundaries. I think she would say that. And when I say that, I talk about my mum. My mum, honestly, when I say this, she's the most loving woman I've ever come across. She's the most kindest, gentlest. She sees the best in fucking everyone. She's such a lovely woman. And it's so difficult for her to set boundaries like that, because all she wants to do is take care of everyone.
Yeah.
But by setting those boundaries, I feel like what's happened is that she has able to separate what is her shit and what's her son's shit. And then slowly, it seems very, very slowly, it seems that we're finding our way out of it as a family. So I would love to offer you some of that experience and maybe some of those solutions to see if there's something you can use.
Yeah.
And don't listen,
Absolutely.
again, like, there's no pressure, darling. If you want to come along, you can. If you don't feel like it, that's all good as well. There's no pressure at all. It's just that I feel that it's a subject that is incredibly, incredibly important, you know, and we're seeing more and more and more of it. The more the world goes crazy, we're seeing more people become unhinged, more people not be able to take on this reality. And I think there's a really beautiful invitation for us to dig a little bit deeper into all of that.
I've just sort of been waiting for an opportunity, I suppose, to and then when I seen the subject was self-harm this week, I thought, well, maybe this is the moment then to talk about it. I just waited for that opportunity, and it came today.
Divine timing, I think they call that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Mary, darling, listen, I would love to see you Thursday, and if not, like if you all you have to do is send a message in the MYGA space to get me, and I'll talk to you privately as well if you don't want to speak in the hearing heart. But I guess like you've come up here today, so you've already got a lot of courage and a lot of balls, metaphorically speaking, of course. So hopefully I'll see you Thursday, darling. And like I say, there's an invitation to your son as well. If you feel like it would help, if you feel like there's any way that I could have a chat with him, then I'll offer that as well.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I'll definitely see you Thursday. Thank you.
All right, Mary. All right, darling. I'll see you soon. Bye, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, let's get Ro up, shall we?
Hello.
Hello, Ro.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah. No, cutting race, lots of booze, you know, on a Friday night. And you know,
Are you talking about yourself here, or are you talking about
yeah,
generally?
I've done none of the normal self-harm. So why am I here speaking today about self-harm? And I'm thinking, well, I've not done any of the physical self-harms. I've done the mental self-harm of, you know, procrastination and down on myself and just negative thinking, spiraling downwards. And that to me is the self-harm that I've done myself, from, you know, preventing myself from, you know, doing more or whatever, being more. So I think, oh, well, what, you know, what would I say to somebody who has done self-harm? They say, don't do it. So what would I say to myself? You know, procrastinate. I can remember myself. I used to do sales in the 90s, you know, what was it called? Could I say? Network marketing, MLM, water filters, and air filters. God. And I remember, you know, on a Sunday night, that was the best night to phone people. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh, you were that guy.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the 10-ton phone, you know, and I was thinking, the hours that I've spent lying on my bed, procrastinating, thinking, oh, what am I going to say? And I was shaking. And that to me, I look back on that and think, for goodness sake, what? Get a grip. Now, so who was in charge? The guy that I'm now, if I was in charge back then, I wouldn't have gone through all of that hell of self-inflicted. You don't think at the time it's self-harm, but there's no other way to express it, that procrastination is self-harm, because you're closing the door to opportunities. So who's in charge? Who's the governing voice to decide, right, I'm gonna lie in my bed or I'm gonna pick up the phone? And so it's basically, for anybody like myself who self-harmed, it's having a strong voice, and as you said earlier, is a love for the self is paramount to getting through any hiccups of being less than bliss. What I do now is that I feel like I am bliss, and that voice says, right, do you allow are you allowing anything less than bliss to enter your life? So I think, right, if it's just say procrastination, I think, well, I'm not going to procrastinate because that would be less than bliss. So I just do the thing, and somebody else said, feel the fear do the thing and feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah. Jeffers wrote the book. I've read all those books, and just, and this is where I am today. You know, and I tell you, it's I have bad moments, but if I remind myself, this is the thing. Anybody cutting their wrists or procrastinating, in my case, if you remind yourself, that is self-harm, lying on the bed, self-harm. If you remind yourself that that is not who you are, this is the crux of the matter. It's just reminding yourself moment by moment who we are. And so we remain in that bliss, as close to bliss as we can have it in this
realm.
Dimension.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's valuable, Ro. It really is, because we're again, it all comes back to like how we feel about ourselves, doesn't it? So if you're not gonna, if any time there's a, let's say, some information or stimuli that is making you feel in certain way, then you can ask yourself, is this helpful now? Is this going to be productive in making myself feel good, or allowing me to be able to move forward? And 9 times out of 10, we answer that as a no, it's not, because it's come from the not self. And that's what we're doing our best to discover in this space, is what we and who we truly are, you know. So I feel like within this unbridled, very free conversation, we're getting closer and closer, week in, week out, to be able to find out who the fuck that really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just wanting to be more of who, if we are, well, I've got to speak on from personally. If I am to fulfill all the capabilities that I am potentially able to be, then I need to tell myself that, right, this is how you are, or this is how you were in that moment back then, and now this is how I am in this moment now. You got to say, like I got to say, no, that's who I was, and now this is who I am. I think that for me, that is the most powerful. If I can remember to do that each time,
Yeah.
that was why I was on the Hearing Heart the other night. Because it's maybe the answer is just to like plaster the walls with sticky notes.
With reminders.
Remember, but
reminders.
yeah, just remember who you are.
Yeah.
Because that's like covers everything.
Yeah.
And so for whatever situation is out there that is, potentially, gonna trip you up, just right. I've just read it as I walk out the door. Remember who you are, and then something trips you up.
On the first, you need the first. Stick it on the first lamppost, the second lamppost, the third lamppost.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I think. Thanks for the opportunity, because I think I'll do that actually.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, is that if we don't, it's like being in stagnant air. We've got some, we call it swamp water. It's called Florida water. And if you get some new fragrance into your life, like new thoughts, and that's where growth is. I've always felt is that if we have new thoughts, then we didn't have those new thoughts when in our past. And if we introduce those new thoughts, it connects with other thoughts that, and maybe makes other thoughts redundant, or it synergizes with other thoughts, and then we have a new action. So I've got to write that down.
Write it down.
Yeah. Thanks. Talk amongst yourselves.
Ro, I'm gonna finish up now because
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for your for the space.
It's a pleasure, mate.
It is. I mean, I get a bit hyper because it's only nerves why I'm like hyper like this. I feel I'm shaking.
No, you're all right, mate. You're good.
Yeah,
you're all good.
But I really do want to come and see you. But it's busy at the moment. But
we'll figure something out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ro. Always a pleasure to talk to you, brother.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, right. So, as Ro just correctly said, which is incredibly important, right? What we have to do is come back to self-love, yeah? Self-worth, all right? So remember, that's what the remembering is, yeah? To remember who we are is that we're love, aren't we? You know, at the end of the day, is that we have to remember that. And so, first and foremost, hold on to that love and keep it within yourself first. That's what you got to do. Protect yourself. Be gentle to yourself. You know, allow yourself to be completely and utterly wrapped up in that good feeling of love for yourself before you do anything else. Because we're fucking useless if we don't act out of that space. Trying to help anyone else from outside of that space is futile. It's counterproductive. It becomes a false economy. So, listen, thank you very much. I feel like we've had a lovely, wonderful deep dive into all of it again today. And I hope you have all found it very beneficial because that's the aim, as always. So I'm going to see you on Thursday night at the Hearing Heart. And hopefully we might get a chance to speak to Mary. And if not, we'll see Mary another time. And on Sunday next week, it's an evening MYGA. So I will see you there. People, have a lovely week and much love. See you later.
I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes.
It's doing that thing to me now, is it? I can't leave my own fucking meeting.